you have brought up the whole issue about privacy and security around data centers and these services. How are you addressing that? I know that's a big concern, but I'm not really sure how companies are really helping people feel more secure, except for the fact that maybe you should service as in Singapore because they feel that the data systems over there, I don't know, are much better or they're set up more secure. I don't know. So if you can address that, that'd be great.
Thanks for that question. No, as I mentioned, security is clearly one of the biggest things that come up. So if you look at it, from our perspective, we take our public clouds, our most scalable, we're a shared resource, so to speak, not dedicated. We clearly have a lot of our own physical security that goes in those data center level, the firewalls level, sort of in the applications that split it. But what we do then is we really work with customers on a custom basis. I'm talking about where they need to encrypt, really sharing best practices with them. We can do stuff because we run, not to get too technical, but we actually run physical servers as well as the public cloud. So we can do custom setups where, for instance, we can actually really take their database servers, so they had stuff that needs credit card data, all that stuff, put that on a physical environment, secure it, ensure there, and then allow our other side that scales just to handle the web traffic. So we have a bunch of technology solutions. So from that perspective, we try to do best practices and really talk about to the customer what their needs are. And then the other point that you brought up, I think, is location, right? And that is one that, myself being out here responsible for Asia Pacific, I mentioned earlier we have our data center in Hong Kong, we get a lot. And the reality is what we basically do as far as the company is, we're just very open that we operate our data centers and our privacy laws based on, the jurisdiction that we operate in. Okay? We clearly do a Hong Kong facility, we talk to our customers, say, yeah, if you look at Hong Kong, we have privacy law, if you look at the rights of the Hong Kong government to request data, we're going to follow and comply with that. So what we really do is just really kind of try to take an open approach on it, and then based on where our customer needs are, is address it. I do think there's a lot of perception issues out there, and I hear the Hong Kong Singapore one all the time. But the reality is, if you look at it from a legal framework perspective, your data is just as secure here as it is in Singapore. In reality, it's probably more secure here in Singapore than it's in the U.S. So it is interesting. So again, just to kind of sum up, we try to do it on two levels, which is first one is really on the technology and architecture. We try to get best practices, and then the final piece is we, just when it comes to jurisdictions, again, we just take a very, open perspective and map our SLAs and our privacies to the jurisdictions that we're operating in.
Anyone? Questions?
I have a question about the China mainland access. Is there any difference between hosting a platform or website on the cloud, whether dedicated hosting device in mainland China directly for the Chinese to be able to reach the website or location?
We're going to take a question.
So if you look at it, I think, so there is, China's, again, I think it's, I think already the two questions that we've gotten, or probably the two questions I get the most is, what about the data protection, privacy, and what about China? Those are the questions that I get a lot. So if you look at China, I think that where it comes down to, again, I think it depends on what content you're trying to deliver, right? So if you're going to deliver content that is really going to put you at a level where you're going to need a license to operate in China, whether it be a business license or an ICP, an internet content provider, the reality is at some point you're probably going to need to actually have servers in mainland China to operate above board, to lessen your chance of cut off, that type. But if you're doing more broad-based, you can absolutely access China from outside of China. We have many customers that use our Hong Kong data center. We actually go out of our way to make sure we get priority routes through some of the China telcos into China to cut off latency. So we do actually have many customers that use us to deliver content in China, but it's really, kind of incumbent on the customer to decide, where they stand within the legal framework. But you can absolutely do it, and be perfectly honest, we really haven't had many customers come to us with issues about being blocked or being cut off. But again, it really does come down to, I think, what are you trying to do in China, what are you trying to serve?
Yeah, I really agree with Jim. Is that for I can only speak for Microsoft Cloud Services, right? So what I can say is that today we do not have any data centers in China, and all of us know the restriction on that part. It needs to be a joint venture, etc. For any servers you set up in China. As Microsoft did announce how we are going to tackle that, because we have something called the Azure Appliance. Okay, that is a big container. Okay, with all the hardware inside, with the Azure platform built in that already, and we sell the whole container, maybe a lot of these containers into China for and then partner with a company to have a joint venture and run the business in this way. So all the all my big bosses are working on that in their China business, I'm sure. But that is what Microsoft is going to handle this case. But we are still working on this. A lot of negotiation, etc. behind this, I'm sure. However, as of today, when we are talking to companies that want to leverage cloud computing and target the China users, the closest place is Hong Kong. Okay, it is already the best, or the best choice for now. Or they can. Of course, there are a lot of choices within China, okay, for those local cloud vendors. So there are different business considerations from them. Some of them, would prefer to hold everything outside of China, but of course they will have the risk of being blocked, etc. And the speed actually. It's not a very big concern when I come into this kind of discussion, because if it can access it usually can. Okay, the main problem is that sometimes it may be blocked. Unpredictably. So that is actually the main concern here. But we do have customers, hosting in Hong Kong and then target to China users, and vice versa also, because if that ISP or the developer or the owner of that website services is coming from China, by hosting their service in Hong Kong actually help them to reach worldwide. Okay, because if they want to sell their services to US, for example, okay, Hong Kong is a very good stepping stone for them. So I also do a lot of this kind of cases.
Sounds really.
Okay, let me try and word this correctly. Say I wanted to attract a target market in Hong Kong and Asia. Is it preferable, is it beneficial to use a Hong Kong cloud versus a cloud server in Europe or the US? And secondly, is it then a difference between that and also using a physical server versus a cloud in Hong Kong?
So I think as the difference between Hong Kong and Singapore, but I'm speaking for Microsoft Cloud Services. Okay, so actually it really depends on the location of your target users. Okay, so if you are hosting a user for Hong Kong and Macau, then probably you want to put that in Hong Kong. However, if you really want to target Southeast Asia, then you may want to put on Singapore. But the choice between these two, the data centers are actually identical. The platform is identical. It's really a choice of where you want to put it. But one of the things that when I talk to customers that have this concern, I usually ask them to go up to a kind of speed test page. Okay, so if your users are from Macau, for example, okay, try from Macau, ask your colleagues to access that speed test page from our Hong Kong center to our Hong Kong center. So our Hong Kong data center have a page, and then Singapore data center have a page, right? So you compare the result. Okay, if it does not make a really big difference, then you may consider some other thing. Because some of the things is that some of them, especially when we are working with the government, okay, they have a lot of concern of where our data is hosting. I talked with a government department. They buy a car. They think, yeah, my scenario, dynamic scaling, how is perfect for us. However, I do not want it to be hosting in Singapore. Why? You guess why? The reason is that they do not. It is not politically correct to generate, the job opportunity in Singapore, right? Not about security, not about laws, etc. It's just politically not correct. Okay, it is a service that is serving Hong Kong citizens, then it should be hosting in Hong Kong, generating job opportunity for Hong Kong. So there are a lot of different consideration from different business angles. However, for physically, I think they are physically the same, and usually they try the speed of both and then compare and make a choice. And your second question is, okay, on-premises or move to cloud?
My question is, so physical hosted by you versus cloud hosted by you.
Right. So actually, Microsoft actually offers both solution, and we actually offers hybrid solution. So part of them can be on premises and part of them on cloud. So and actually a lot of the cases that I work with are like this, because especially for those big enterprises, it is difficult for them to convert into cloud overnight. Okay, so however, if you are hosting that, kind of like private cloud, right? You set up your home servers, then you need to do management, system monitoring system for that. That will come in a cost. Okay, and I think actually also go back to dynamic scaling. If you are going to host a private cloud on premises in your data center, how much servers are you? What is the capacity that you are planning? What if your need, okay, your user loading goes above your capacity? What is the opportunity cost? At the end of the day, when I close every deal of cloud computing, it always ends with a spreadsheet of the estimation. Okay, how much does it cost over a year's time, the next 12 months at least? I usually work with them on a low usage scenario, medium usage scenario, and high usage scenario. So if your social media doesn't really get ahead, okay, the maximum that you think you can reach, what is that? And if we calculate from that, what is the costing of the cloud computing part? Okay, and then they will add on that. Oh, at that moment I should be having this number of advertising revenue. And does it make that justification? It is out of my control, okay, because I do not have the knowledge of their business, right? We only provide the platform, but at the end of the day, every deal that I post, it always ends with that spreadsheet.